Welcome to Hameen Loyal. This is Eric Grissom.
And I'm Dan Johnson. Eric and I will be rewatching the iconic Twin Peaks from the pilot through the return and everything in between.
If this is your first time watching, or if you're a longtime fan, you can watch along with us as we dive deep into the strange and wonderful world of Twin Peaks.
We live inside a dream.
Today, on a very special episode of Meanwhile, I am talking to stand-up comedian, writer, actor, creator, Mr. Dana Gould. Dana has been involved in many things that I adore through his career, from The Ben Stiller Show to The Simpsons to Hanging with Dr. Z. We cover some Twin Peaks stuff, some David Lynch-related items, but we also dive into a number of aspects of his career over the years. And like the other interviews, there will be a bonus episode over on our Patreon. So grab your favorite easy chair, put on a pair of comfortable headphones, and let's hope for the best.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here. And now, for the first time, we are bringing to you the full story of what happened on that fateful day. We are giving you all the evidence, based only on the secret testimony of the miserable soul who survived this terrifying ordeal.
How are you today, Dana? We've already talked about how bad everything sucks, so we can skip that part.
Yeah, we've had the daily dystopian update. I'm great. How are you? It's so lovely to talk to you. As we were saying before, I spend so much time listening to you, I forget that I don't really know you.
Yeah.
And the minute I was like, hey, how's it going?
It is fun. Like, I walked the dogs today, and I was listening to the Dana Gould Hour, of which you have several very good Lynch-specific episodes. I forget the name of the book, the guy that wrote the book on Dune.
Yes, Sam Every.
Sam Every, okay. It was like Beautiful Disaster?
A Masterpiece in Disarray.
Masterpiece in Disarray, a much better title.
It's a big book.
You also did an recent episode on the new Twin Peaks book. There's always a good Twin Peaks book, it seems like, coming out. Excellent interview.
With Scott Meslow.
There it is. A place both wonderful and strange. And your kind of Lynch tribute, where you go through every aspect of his career from beginning to end.
Yeah. That was grieving.
Yeah. It shows how much, I think, you cared for his work. And I think as a person, I think people that really do like him feel it a little bit differently.
True. And what was strange was, I think a lot of it had to do with I didn't know him. I had been in his company several times because I was in the David Lynch Foundation and I practiced TM, and we had the same TM instructor. So I was kind of like, I knew people that referred to him as David. I met him twice. Like, we've spent much more time together now than I did talking to him. But what he symbolized meant so much to me. And the timing also with the fires and the election, it was really, it was like, not you. It was like, no, because being a weirdo, when I was coming of age, being a weirdo was so important. And I still consider myself one. And at a time when the bullies took over the planet. It
Yeah.
seemed like it was like Obi-Wan died. Like, oh, why now? Why now?
Yeah, no, it was raw. I mean, it hit me as well. That's the whole reason
Yeah.
I'm talking to you is because I decided to do this podcast. Never would have done this podcast. I had felt like I was creatively at a low point. Then there was the election. Everything just seemed to be falling apart. And then that happened. And it was
Yeah.
it was really hard. And yeah, I feel that too. Like, I didn't know him. Why am I so upset? And I really wasn't. It was somebody that has been with me my whole life.
Yeah.
I want to know about your connection to him. It sounds like you were probably on board even before Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah. But the I mean, I saw Blue Velvet when it was out, and that was really, I was aware of the Elephant Man. I was in 10th grade when the Elephant Man came out. Yeah, I knew about it. I didn't know about Eraserhead till much later, until I was like a young guy out in college age.
Yeah. So you're born in 64. Young
64,
Dana,
yeah.
born in 64, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So my understanding, you have 4 siblings.
5.
So you're one of 6?
4. I have 4 older brothers and a younger sister, and none of them know who David Lynch is. None of them voted for Kamala Harris. None of them, it's like,
So it was comedy as a form of self-defense.
yeah,
4 older, that's a lot of masculinity.
yeah, it is. And super, I mean, they're cops and prison guards. And I describe it as the Marilyn Munster syndrome. I was the one that looked normal to the outside world, and I was the weirdo inside the house.
Is it like your older brother's 15 years older than you, and then they get to you and everybody's so tired?
10. No, it was 10, like every other year. Irish, all Irish twins. Like
Okay.
bang, bang,
Yeah.
bang, bang, bang. But I was the perfect age. Like, you talk about people, there's like, I was 14 when I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, and it changed. Like, these people I was the perfect age for 2 things. Star Wars came out when I was 12 years old, and Twin Peaks came out when I was like 25, 26. And I was just living in Los Angeles. I was a young comedian, and I was hot in the business, and lived with my girlfriend. And we were in the center of that whole, like, we had the parties, we had the pie parties, we had the Bob Wanted poster on our refrigerator. That was a moment. Like, spring, summer of 1990 was a moment in time that was so distinctive, and it was over before it started, but we were there for all of it. And I just realized something the other day. I was talking to Scott Meslow, who wrote the book. I saw it sort of, that relationship arced the show, because when the show was hot in the first season, my girlfriend and I were living together. We had the apartment, like, it was the apartment that everybody would come and hang out at. And, Janine Garofalo sleeping on the couch, and, all the hipsters.
Is this the comedy condo, or is this before?
That's a different thing. That's in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
That's in San Francisco, which I'm also tied to. But yeah, it was just like the cool guy, the cool gang.
Yeah.
We were the cool kids at the height of the show. I remember watching the finale when Twin Peaks is over. The girlfriend had moved out. The cat was gone. Half the furniture was gone. Half the albums were gone. Nobody watched it with me. Everybody was off doing it. Nobody cared anymore. I was just
sad eating pie with little Nicky hanging over your shoulder.
Eating it. If you know what, LA, I was eating a chicken pot pie from Ships, and just, yeah, nobody cared. I was the only one. I was like, I'm the only person I know that still likes this show.
It's true, though, because it was so fleeting. And I don't know if you covered this on, because I listened to that interview that you did. I don't know if it came up on that interview, or I heard you talking about it somewhere else, that it was a time when the thing you liked was also popular, which for me has never happened.
Right.
Really, other than like Twin Peaks. It was always the comedy or the films or whatever was always on the outside. It was always something that hardly anyone knew about. But then there was these moments, and that was like just a singular moment where everybody was into that show
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Weird was cool for like 4 months, and then they shook it off.
But yeah, no, that I was. So were you also tapes, diary, like going that deep, the autobiography, all of that stuff at the same time?
I got it all, buddy. I got it all.
See, I have that. See, I also have an ex-girlfriend that has my original diary, and I wonder if she has those tapes. But did you have the access guide?
I have it. Yeah. In fact, the access guide is the one with the pie on the cover.
Yeah, I never owned it.
Yeah, I have it. But apparently it's worth a lot of money now.
It is, because it's out of print and it will never be, from what I've been told. So the guy who, and I'm blanking on his name, who was the main writer on that, also created the TED Talks.
Oh.
And he loves the idea that it's just this moment in time and will never be reprinted. So it will never, this is what I've been told, that from fans, listeners to the show that have told me, that it's just sort of lost media. You mentioned TM. You said you studied you have the same teacher that he did. Was that something that you've been doing for? I do it as well myself. But was that something that's relatively new to you, or have you been doing it for a while?
No, my first wife and I, got into it in the late 90s. And our instructor was this woman named Penny Bell, who shows up in David's filmography. I think she's in Inland Empire. And then we had kids, and everything went out the window. Like, all you need to do is set 40 minutes a day aside. And then I got back into it when he, not when he passed, but right around the time he said he had emphysema. And then my second wife and I, my last, or as I call her, my last wife, we went and she got her mantra and everything, and then I had a little refresher, David, I say, like, I knew him. He said that he never missed a session. I can't make that claim.
Yeah, I wonder, though, does he mean just a day? Because I have never missed a day, but I've certainly missed one of the two things.
Yeah.
I'm sure I probably missed a day here.
Yeah.
The guy would show up at 3:00 at Bob's Big Boy every day for, how many years?
I used to go to Bob's Big Boy restaurant, and I went there for 7 years, every day at 2:30. Not the Chinese dentist time. It was a Chinese dentist time, but I went there because I liked to have a chocolate milkshake, and there was a silver goblet shake. It wasn't really ice cream. It was a thing they put into a thing called a Taylor machine, and it would get cold, and they'd pull the lever, and it would come out in kind of a tube of ice cream and fill this goblet. And I liked this chocolate milkshakes like that at 2:30. If you came during lunch, they made so many of them that it never would get cold enough to be ice cream. It would be like soup. So I would go later, and then it would be cold enough. It would be just right. So, and if I went later, I'd be so hungry. You know what I mean? So I had these things for 7 years with a cup of coffee, and I would write on the napkins. It was like having a desk, and you need paper. There's a piece of paper, and you write on it when you get ideas.
Yeah, he was a creature of habit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably right.
Yeah.
So I want to jumping back, so you're outside of Boston.
Yeah.
You start doing stand-up comedy when you're still in high school, or
2 weeks out of high school, 17 years old. My youngest daughter yesterday turned 17, and I was like, God, that's the age I was when I started doing stand-up.
Yeah, and they're probably very welcoming, I imagine, in Boston in the 80s.
It was great. It was like Marine, for stand-up comedians, it was like Marine boot camp. It's like, yeah, I can do anything you need me to do because I can handle being on stage while people are welding.
Yeah.
So, it was really tough, but I'm still really good friends with the people that were my friends then.
Well, I imagine it's probably a very close or small community, right? Where you're making friends then that you're gonna see the same people, I imagine.
It's like Bob Goldthwait, who's people know, Tom Kenny, who's the voice of SpongeBob, our friend Dan, Brian Kiley, who writes for Conan, wrote on the Academy Awards, Laura Keitlinger, that was on SNL. Like all these people are still people I talk to every week, and I've known them since the '80s.
And then you do that for a while. I imagine that's like the '80s also, that's when I remember there being a huge comedy boom. And it was like Comic Strip Live was on TV. And it all sort of culminated into that Tom Hanks movie Punchline in like 1988. And then there was like a huge like drop off. And then it comes back.
Yeah. Yep, that's about right. It comes back. Yeah, the drop off happened a little bit later. I rode that wave like nobody's business. I moved into Boston in 1984 to do stand-up comedy. I had a car because you do shows in Boston and then you go like, you're going to Amherst, New Hampshire. You're going to Springfield, Mass. You're going to Amherst. It was a different show every night in a different city because the baby boom was at the age where they were young and they had kids and they were going out at night. They had the Reagan economy was going good and they had expendable income. And what they found was stand-up comedy was really cheap to produce as opposed to bands. You don't need a stage crew and a lighter. You just need a mic and a stick. And we would go to these clubs that were comedy clubs. And then you go in the back room and you could see the disco ball and the mechanical bull from all of the other trends that it had been. And then it became a karaoke bar and now it's a tattoo store. It's like whatever the trend was at the time. And it paid cash. It was under the table business. I'm 21 years old. And here's the thing. I did not then, nor do I now, nor have I ever in between drank or done any drugs, not for any religious purpose. I just happened to be that guy. Because I didn't do drugs, I worked all the time because I had a car so I could drive the older, more experienced comedians, and they didn't have to worry about sharing their cocaine with me because I didn't want it.
Right. I was going to say, literally everyone around you, I imagine, is on drugs or drunk or hitting the wall hard.
I have seen more cocaine done than the Eagles roadies, I am sure. And I worked a ton, and I developed you really learn crowd control in Boston in that time because it's like Liverpool. It's a port city. It's a tough town. And then when I went out to San Francisco to do the comedy competition, which was the big thing, I was much better than I should have been for somebody who had only been doing it as long as I had been because I came out of a cauldron.
Right. It's like dog years. It's like you did.
Yeah, that's well put. That's perfectly put. And so I moved up really quickly. And then I ended up moving to San Francisco and then down to LA.
Was that the thing for you? Stand-up comedy was your passion? Like, 'cause you're a writer. We'll talk about your showrunner, your sketch comedy writer and performer, as well as an actor. So, like, was stand-up the thing you loved?
Here's what I thought, Eric. I wanted to, I wanted to be, I was always funny. I wanted to be in horror movies. I just wanted to act in horror. I wanted to be Peter Cushing in Horror of Dracula.
This is not Lucy, the sister you loved. It's only a shell, possessed and corrupted by the evil of Dracula.
How do you destroy a fiend who has so far proven himself indestructible? Those who come to end his reign of terror stay to become his victims.
That's the direct line, I think, to Hammer Horror is stand-up comedy.
But that was my thinking. If I become famous, then I can write a movie and they'll have to let me be in it. It was literally like, I want to be a pastry chef. And if I'm elected president of the United States, they'll have to let me bake anything I want. It was the most ass-backwards way of getting into a horror movie as one could imagine. It eventually worked.
Yeah.
But it didn't work until 2016. But and then, I have a deep passion for stand-up comedy, and I grew up obsessed with it, and the original SNL and Monty Python and all that stuff. I was just the right age for that. And I happen to have an ability I have a proclivity towards it. I like doing it, and I really love doing it, and I think that that's a big part of it.
So then you go to San Francisco, right? Is this where the comedy condo is?
Yeah. The fact that you know that.
Yeah. If you're going to start a Twin Peaks podcast and you're going to have a guest on, you're going to have to do some research. But on Wikipedia, there's an entry for the comedy condo. You were listed as the first or second.
On the lease. First on the lease, me and a guy named Alex Reed, who is now a TV director, 336 21st Avenue in San Francisco in the Richmond district. It was an apartment specially designed to never get sunlight in it at all. And I lived there, and Alex Reed lived there, and gosh, Tony Kameen, Ron Lynch, Janine Garofalo, Liz Winstead, Jon Stewart. I mean, everybody slept there at least a couple of nights.
Yeah, I saw one article, all the people that and a lot of the people just are people that you end up working with, and obviously they're your friends, right? Or they're people that you do comedy with.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I need to stay someplace. Well, come on out, stay at our place.
Yeah, David Cross as well. You mentioned Bob Odenkirk, and then you end up doing Ben Stiller 92, so it's part of that whole thing.
Right. And and I'm on that show for the same reason they're staying in my apartment. We're all friends. It's like, why did I get on the show? Because I was probably at Ben's apartment when he got the call that the show was picked up. So it's like, hey, you want to do it? Sure. These things, it's like music. It's just a scene, and it's a social scene. And, these people are all my friends.
The Ben Stiller show doesn't get talked about enough, I think, and maybe it's because it's not as accessible, but it's clearly like the point that leads eventually to Mr. Show and
absolutely,
and the comedy that goes after that. I mean, the writers are going and like,
no, you don't have Mr. Show without Ben Stiller. Mr. Show is to the Ben Stiller show what New Order is to Joy Division. It's like you don't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
And we gave the world Andy Dick and Jay Johnston, so it's not like we didn't contribute to society.
Yep, hey, listen, we paint in light and darkness in this world. Light and darkness, my friend. This is the David Lynch podcast, essentially. But I wish. Yeah, I could also drop in Morning Man at 88, the short film that you were an actor in, if we want to go down that road. With Janine Garofalo and Andy Dick, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
You can't find it. I did try to find it. I was like, I would like this movie. I want to watch this movie. But you get the sense, though, it is like a bunch of friends
100%
doing comedy, doing art, like just making things. Something that feels completely lost now, and maybe that's...
and it's weird. Do you know what the Saturn Awards are?
The science fiction awards?
Yeah. They're huge now. I mean, I just did it. I gave an award, and they like me. I don't know why. And I said, I offered to do it as Dr. Zaius, because that's a weird side hustle that I have, and
which is an amazing thing I want to talk about in a bit. Yes.
For the sake of the story, all you need to know is I'm in a blue velvet tuxedo, dressed in Dr. Zaius makeup, and waiting to go on. And I'm standing backstage, and literally James Cameron, George Lucas, Guillermo del Toro, and Tom Cruise all walk past me. And I am trying, and I'm with an actress who's on a show called Upload, and she was great. She was a real good sport. But I'm trying to fade into the background because I'm in ape makeup, and I don't want to talk to these people in ape makeup. Tom Cruise sees me and goes, "You look great," and comes over to me. And I've worked with him before. I worked with him on Tropic Thunder, again, because of Ben. But I didn't want to go like through ape makeup. Hey, you don't remember me, but blah, blah, blah. So he just talked to me, and I eventually said, this is always the way I wanted to meet you. And he laughed at that. The reason I'm telling you this is like, it was just weird. It was surreal.
That is a great memory. Like the fact that you wanted to fade into the background and not push yourself up, just the absurdity of those people together and Dr. Zaius. I mean, come on.
So then I'm leaving backstage. They do their bit, they leave. I do my bit and leave. And I'm walking out and I just hear, hey, man. And I turn and it was Odenkirk, who was giving out the next award. And I was like, oh, thank God it's you. Somebody I know. And we just how's your son doing? Are your kids out of school?
I obviously don't know Bob Odenkirk. He's a friend of yours. But watching him, I love him. I think he's one of the greatest people in the world. And I was a big fan of Mr. Show. And so seeing him like all of a sudden appear on Breaking Bad and now end up like where he is now in terms of roles and stuff.
We would have never guessed that of all the people on that show, we would have never put Bob to be a giant star. I would think of him as like maybe a giant Academy Award-winning writer. And he was a great sketch writer. And I mean, he's a brilliant guy all around. But there was nothing about him that said, I'm going to be a movie star. Like I would assume Janine, because Janine.
Right. Yeah, she's fantastic too.
She occupied a space that was specifically hers. And the other thing about Bob is that he didn't, like, I thought I was going to be really famous. And then I met Ben. And I met Ben before anything. Like, we were both at the same level when we met. And I'm not knocking him in this story. Like, I met him through Janine. And I hung out with him for a day in New York, and I was like, well, forget it. I'm screwed. Like, I cannot compete. His drive and his focus. And he was like, he knew what he wanted. He knew how to get it. He was going to go out and get it. And I was like, well, I don't know. I like comic books too.
Yeah.
I could go to the trainer or I could go to the movies. I think I'd rather go to the movies. And it was just one of those things. Like Bob didn't like have that rabid hunger for fame and success that I saw. So it's lovely that he's gotten everything he has.
I'll be a contrarian a bit here and say I think I saw it in the sketch that where David Cross is like he's like a billionaire or whatever because he invents the delete key, right? And there's this scene where Bob plays his accountant and he comes in and he's yelling, there's goats everywhere, and he turns to the camera and he just goes, he's broke.
I'm not talking to clouds on a sunny day.
You gotta talk.
No, it's playtime. No, it's time to play.
It's not playtime anymore.
If you want
I'm
me,
serious.
If you want me, I'll be out fun boarding.
Greg, come on, man. You know, you've lost it. He's broke.
And the way he delivers this line, there's so much humanity and performance within this like crazy world. I'm like, he's actually an excellent actor.
Yeah, and you can see it now. Like because all those guys lived in the same house on Saul. They all shared a house, and so they would just run dialogue, and he's really become like. I think he's the best thing in the movie The Post.
I haven't seen it. I know that it's excellent
he's
movie.
the best thing in it. He's the best thing in it.
So Ben Stiller show, right? The reason why I really want to talk about the Ben Stiller show is you have told me that you're the reason why Mrs. Tremont is in the sketch.
Yes.
Can you tell us about casting that?
Yes. Another situation where I put myself in a situation where I could not meet the people that I had summoned. I had written a sketch for the show called Otto the Anti-Cupid, and it was, what if Cupid hooked you up with the wrong person? Like he hooked up a black girl with a Klansman, which you couldn't do anymore, but that we did.
It's time once again for Otto the Anti-Cupid. Growing up in the shadow of his younger brother Cupid, Otto, embittered and enraged, dedicated his life to forcing people to fall in love with the wrong person.
And, and so I hooked Ben up with I was like, and then we'll hook Ben up with an old lady. And I said, let's get the old lady from Twin Peaks.
My name is Gertrude Anderson.
You're beautiful.
Oh, I'm 78 years old.
Things you must know.
I'm sorry.
Teach me, Gert. Huh? Take me to school.
Oh, young man.
And we looked up who it was, and she did it. And she was very sweet and really lovely. But so we're shooting, and I'm dressed as Otto, the anti-Cupid, and I'm in a Clockwork Orange hat and a Cupid wig and the one eye makeup like Malcolm McDowell. And outside of that, I'm wearing a diaper and army boots and a bow and arrow. And I'm in a tree. I'm in a tree that is full of ants.
And you put yourself there.
100%. And then when I was done and I'm sitting there and Mrs. Tremont walks by me, I just kind of like turned away. Like I didn't want to meet her. Like, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you, Mrs. Tremont.
Oh man, God bless her.
Yeah,
the great Frances Bay. She's very funny in that sketch.
Yes, I have many strange stories about the Twin Peaks cast. The strangest one being when I was on The Simpsons. I came home from work one day and looked in my kitchen, and there was my wife and our neighbor and Cheryl Lee sitting at the kitchen table. And I had a shelf of all those books that I have.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hey. And then I went and like turned all the books around because I didn't want her to walk through the house and see like, oh, these.
Right. Because that's how they get all your power. Yes. You can't.
I'm not going to get out of here alive. They're going to make a dress of my skin. And then I had to go in the living room and pretend to be cool. Oh, and your name is Cheryl. Nice to meet you, Cheryl. And how do you know him?
You had no idea that she was coming? How did she get there?
She was our neighbor's. She was and is really good friends with our neighbor, Linda, who's a periodontist? No, braces, whatever that is.
Orthodontist.
She's an orthodontist. She's my daughter's orthodontist. And they're friends with they're our neighbor. So she just came by to say, we all had kids at the same school. And and Cheryl was visiting Linda, and Linda said, oh, let's go meet Sue and talk to my wife. And then I came home and there she was. And then so it was utterly surreal. Like, oh, and I used to have the same agent as Dana Ashbrook. And oddly, her name was Jenny Craig, but not the diet program. But I would get Dana's auditions because it would be like tall, handsome, wrong Dana.
Oh, no.
This is for Ashbrook. I'm the nervous guy in the copy room. So we had that weird connection that we would sometimes get each other's auditions by accident. And then when I went to the Twin Peaks, I went to a big fan event here at the Ebell Theater about 2 months ago. And I met everybody, and I said to Cheryl, like, you don't remember me? I met you in my kitchen. I'm Linda Toth's neighbor. And she was like, oh no, I totally remember. And then I just heard, and this is the surreal moments I just heard, Dana Gould, Jenny Craig. And it turned out it was Dana Ashbrook. I'm like,
wow.
How do you know me? Just surreal. They're all lovely.
The amount of willpower that you have. Cheryl Lee is in your kitchen, and you didn't.
Oh, no, I haven't. No, I did say no. Eventually I came, I said, oh, I'm a huge fan. Yeah, no, I didn't want I didn't want her to know about the books. I said no, I love the show. I had the Bob poster on my fridge and everything. I was like, she was, but you got to play it. You got to play it kind of cool about that stuff.
You would have to. But the fax machine, you've also sold a fax machine to someone.
Yeah, and then I have another story that's really weird too. I guess this is the place for these stories.
It's a lot. It's a lot of things, and your friends are marrying people's daughters, and then you have
that's
fax
right.
machines, and there's
But it's weird because I live in LA and I'm in show business, and it's not that big of a town, so it would be weird if I didn't know these people. I was years ago. before the internet. There was this thing in LA called The Recycler, and it was, what if Craigslist was a newspaper? It was like if Craigslist, because we don't have Craigslist yet, so it was just a newspaper, and if you wanted something to sell, you'd put it in the recycler. And everybody in LA at the time, this is the 90s, you had the recycler, and you had a thing called the Thomas Guide. And the Thomas Guide was a big spiral-bound book with a map of Southern California in it. And you would go like, because it was before MapQuest or anything, and like, I've got to go to Nord Street. And then you'd look, Nord Street, page 563, grid 52. And then you'd go find it. Okay. And then you'd backwards engineer the directions to get there because it's a huge city. And everybody had the recycler and the Thomas Guide. So I had a fax machine and I wanted to sell it. I didn't need it anymore or whatever. And I just put an ad in the recycler. And that's so not me. I know I just throw it away or I give it to Goodwill. I don't know why I did it. And then I get a call like, hey, I'd like to use factory system. Sure. How much is, I don't know, $40. Sure. What's your name? Russ. Okay, Russ. Where do you live? Venice. Oh, I'll just drive it over. Yeah, drive across. Sure, I don't care. I'll drive. So I drive to Venice and I lived right under the Hollywood sign. I drove to Venice and opens the door and it's Russ Tamblyn.
Is he dressed like Sharky? Was Cabin Boy, was it Sharky? Was that his character?
Goodbye, sweet Chalky. I shan't forget you. Half man, half shark equals one complete gentleman.
He does not dress unlike Dr. Jacoby. But my first thing was, War of the Gargantuas.
It's not just a theory that the brown gargantua is a harmless creature. It's a fact. A plain and simple fact that's already been proven. In my opinion, he should be allowed to live so science can continue its study.
I disagree with the doctor. These monsters are brothers.
I went right to War of the Gargantuas. I passed Dr. Jacoby and went straight to that. And he was like, oh my God, how do you know about that movie? And I was like, oh, I know all about that movie. And we chat. I met his wife and we just shot the shit for 10, 15 minutes. And then I gave him I said, here's the fax machine. And he goes, well, how much? I said, I don't want I refuse your money. And so he gave me a Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department coffee cup.
Oh, wow.
And then years later, my friend David Cross married his daughter Amber. And when I met Amber, I told her that story and she was like, he still has that. It's in the garage. He won't throw it away. But here's a weird show business story this happened less than a year ago. You know Dan Harmon?
Yeah. The Channel 101. Channel 101.
Yeah, Channel 101. Oh, okay. So you go all the way back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Channel 101, Rick and Morty, all that stuff. So it's his birthday party at a bar. And I'm at this birthday party with my wife. And there's just this really beautiful young woman at this party. And in a houndstooth jacket. And my wife's also really beautiful. Yeah. So I'm not like, but it's just, I appreciate a beautiful woman. I'm like, that's a beautiful, that's a beautiful,
sure.
That's a beautiful woman. And this woman's much younger. And I'm just like you'd admire a beautiful painting. And she looks at me and she goes, Dana? And I go, yeah. And she goes, Madeline, we were on The Nanny together. And it was Madeline Zima from the first episode of Twin Peaks: The Return.
You didn't have to bring it yourself. Aren't you supposed to be working?
Oh, no, I got off at 10. I brought 2. Can I join you?
Damn. Tracy, I'm sorry, but no one can come in here. How much do I owe you?
Oh, no, I got him for free.
And this was the most embarrassing thing because I'm looking at her going, God, she's beautiful. And she goes, I was the little girl on The Nanny. You were our favorite guest star. You read to me all day.
Fran, I think you better come see what Chester and Jay Leno's dog are doing in the dining room.
Oh, sweetie, just pick it up. How big can it be?
No, remember what we saw those 2 lions doing on the Discovery Channel?
Oh, my God. Yeah, she's great. She's in those 2 episodes.
Yeah, and she's a really, and we ended up, she's a really great person. Great person.
Hi, I'm here to audit Miss Fran Fine.
Miss Fine, the IRS man is here.
Is that today?
So you've done a lot of acting.
I did a lot of acting, but around the early 2000s, I really said, like, I'm going to be a writer.
Right. Well, that's when you're in The Simpsons, right? Around 2001?
Yeah. And I, for many reasons, one, the second comedy boom had dipped, and I was married. We bought a house. I needed to, and I knew we were going to have kids, and I did not want to be on the road my entire childhood. And so and things just worked out, and I got really, 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 really lucky, and worked on The Simpsons for a long time. But I never didn't do stand-up. I wouldn't go on the road, but I would still, like, in town, I would do these alt shows with David and Patton and all my friends. And yeah, and I never quit it. Because to me, it's like, I do stand-up a lot. I'm doing stand-up next weekend. I'm doing stand-up. But for me, it's more like people surf or go golfing. It's not my income. I make money doing it, but my career is writing, and stand-up is what I do because I'm passionate about it and I enjoy it and I'm good at it.
Yeah, it gives you joy. And also there's probably certain skills you don't want to atrophy. Like you want to stay sharp in a certain way. And it probably informs your writing too, I would imagine.
Everything informs everything else. Yeah. And there was a period of time when when I was on the show, I hadn't done it in a long time. I think like 6 weeks was the longest I went without ever doing it. But I was really out of it. I didn't know who was hot in the business and blah, blah, blah. I had babies, and I'd been there like 6.5 years. And I was like, wanted to do other stuff. I just felt like I'd given the show all I could, and I didn't want to just show up and be bored and make a lot of money. That was a mistake, Eric. But
no, your episodes are fantastic on The Simpsons.
They're all written by everybody, but
that's what I wanted to ask you. So, like, is it when you're going into a writer's room? I imagine, like, are you pitching an idea, then you're putting the script together, and then that script goes through a bunch of people?
Yes, every episode that I wrote is reflective of where I was in my life at that time. The first episode, I think the funniest episode I wrote was the first episode that I wrote.
Is that the one when Homer's running Moe's bar?
Yeah, Homer the Moe.
The Fonzie joke when he goes to start the jukebox.
Don't worry, you gotta hit it just right, like Fonzie. Hey! Oh! Whoa! Hemorrhage mundo!
Are you gonna be okay?
Hey!
That's like my favorite type of comedy is like some absurd situation that gets hyper realistic at a point that hits home for me, and that one has it in spades. But yeah, go on. That's a fantastic episode.
Cuts his
it
wrist.
just keeps bleeding.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
But again, like that joke was written by George Meyer, and what happens is I came in, I had an idea about Homer because my dad was a bartender and he loved hunting, so I took those two things. What if Homer became a bartender and somehow it ended with them hunting? And then I found out that if you put famous people into a show, they'd show up. So like, well, who do I want to meet? Well, I really want to meet REM. Okay. What if REM put him in? Next thing you know, hey, REM's here.
Leonard, what's his name? Herman Munster Motorcade, birthday party Cheetos, pogo sticks and lemonade, you symbiotic stupid jerks, that's right, Flanders, I am talking about you.
How'd you get REM to play in your garage?
I told them it was a benefit. They think they're saving the rainforest.
Suckers!
That's a very dark episode, too.
All my episodes are dark.
That's the one where the guy kills himself, right? And he just walks into the water because he has cancer.
Yes. Mo goes to his bartender school, and he's standing by the side of the lake, and the bartender was his old teacher was George Plimpton.
I'll try almost anything. So when Mattel Electronics asked me to compare their Intellivision games with Atari, I gave it a try.
And it was just like one of those things like, I'm dying, Mo. And that was another George Meyer joke. George Meyer was like, most of the jokes that you remember that you love were written by George. But he was like, I'm dying, Mo. And then I said, well, what if he just walks into the water like Bruce Dern at the end of Coming Home?
Is there anything I can do?
No. Unless you have a cure for cancer. Do you have a cure for cancer? 'Cause that would be great.
I'm sorry, Professor.
Goodbye, Mo.
Bye, Professor. Hey, don't you want to take your shoes off before you go swimming? Professor? Oh.
And so we did that at the table read, and they got a big laugh. And then at the end of the table read, Matt Groening turned to me and said, 13 seasons without a suicide. Thanks, Dana.
Was he at a lot of the readings?
No, he came. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Jim. Jim
Oh,
Brooks.
really?
Sure.
Wow.
Jim Brooks too. Yeah, I've been yelled at by Jim Brooks.
Is it in a good way or in a bad way?
No, it's never good.
It's never a good way, I guess, yeah.
No, he said but he spoke in 70s patois because that's when he came of age. And I believe it was Homer the Mo. He said, he goes, this is funny. The third act of the script is jive. This is just jive. You're some kind of turkey. So I learned how to write there, and it's a very valuable skill.
That must have been a big adjustment for you, right? Because you're coming from writing for yourself, where you're the performer, you're doing stand-up. Now, I guess you did some sketch writing, but that's a different beast, right?
Not only that, but I was kind of famous. I'd been on TV. I'd been on Letterman. I'd had specials. I was on Seinfeld and The Nanny, and I really wanted to. What had happened was I wrote a pilot for myself. I had a bunch of pilots in the 90s, like Dana, Tin Full of Biscuits, whatever they were, and then I said, well, I'd like to write one, and I wrote one for myself that was very surreal. It had like a red room in it. It was like Seinfeld meets Pee-wee's Playhouse kind of thing. And it got made. It didn't go to series, but it did get made. And I realized that my favorite part of the whole process, and, I acted in it. I was the lead in it. It was Paget Brewster's first job from Criminal Minds or Criminal Intent or whatever it shows. So Kevin McDonald was in it from Kids in the Hall. But what I realized was that my favorite part of the process was writing it. I wrote it with Jay Kogan, who is a Simpsons writer. And so I said, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I was married at the time, and, I didn't need strangers to love me anymore. Kind of grew up. And so I went from being a kind of a famous guy to a guy who wanted to be a writer. And you go into The Simpsons, and you're like, I had to really subsume my ego. Because you're the new guy and you're on their turf. And I knew many of them socially very well. Matt Selman and George Meyer were both really good friends of mine. So I knew them enough socially but I really had to shut up for a long time and let them and prove to them that I was well over myself.
Is it intimidating
Hell yes. Horribly so. It was very intimidating because you have a lot of guys that went to Harvard and I went to UMass, and it's The Simpsons. And, it took me 9 months to figure out the algorithms of the jokes, the joke math. And you don't want to be the guy that goes onto the show and ruins it.
Right. Would be it'd be a nightmare.
I remember the first joke I pitched that got onto the show, and that was like, oh, okay, all right, I can do this. I can do this. The joke was, it was an episode called Homer the Drudge, and Homer was sent to the prisoner island.
Welcome, friend. I'm number 6.
I'm number 15. What number are you?
I am not a number. I am a man. And don't you ever... Oh, wait. I'm number 5.
They sent the ball after him, and he just popped it and kept going. And then it cut back to the guards, and they said, why do we use balloons as security devices? And the other guard went, shut up, that's why. And that was my joke.
Why did you think a big balloon would stop people?
Shut up.
Yeah. But, I have to say this. And this is naked self promotion.
Oh, do it.
I wrote Old Man Yells at Cloud.
Oh, you did?
That's mine. I hear that all the time on podcasts, and I'm like, that's mine. That's mine. It was about my dog, Bella, because my dog would just be out back barking, and my wife would go, what's she barking? I just say, I don't know. She's barking to the clouds.
Hello, friends. We've reached the midpoint in the Meanwhile podcast. What does that mean? It means that we're here to thank the wonderful people that have supported the show by joining the Black Lodge. We've got Chuck Suffel, Gregory Flanagan, Dawn Adamo, Banjo Track, Eric Knopp, Charlie Tapper, Jake Jagello, Matthew Fuller, David Melito, Daryl Dyson, Dana Gould, both inside the show you're listening to and outside the show. I mean, come on. Jeff, Henrik E., Concluding Remarks, Brian Johnson, Meerkats, Raga Raven, Evan Fitz, Hazel Haywood, Ivan, William Schaefer, Jordan Carver, Matt W., and the Solid Gold Dancers, Nick Webb, Harvey Woodlawn, Kaylin Best Lawrence, and he who is Clem Fandango, a.k.a. Luke P. Luke P., I appreciate it. Giving me more things to say. I guess by law, I have to read whatever you write on there, within reason. So thank you. Thank you, people. It means a lot to me. Thank you to everyone that's donated on any of our other tiers and that have enjoyed the show and told people about the show. It means a lot. It's why we can keep going. So without further ado, let's get back to my interview with Mr. Dana Gould. Stuart Kornfeld, I remember you mentioning you know him. He comes from your time with Ben Stiller. Was that true? Is that how you're...
Yeah, and I knew Stuart really well. Stuart put a lot of food on my table.
And for folks that may not know, Stuart Kornfeld is the producer that works with Brooks Films.
He gave us David Lynch.
David Lynch needed work. He needed something that he wasn't going to write. He was told 4 ideas.
Before we even ordered, I said, Stuart, now tell me. And he said, okay, David, the first script is a story entitled The Elephant Man. And a small bomb went off in my head. Instantly, I said, that's it. That's what I want to do. I never heard the other 3 ideas.
We'll never know what those other 3 ideas may have been.
Yes. No, we'll never will. And he knew David through the AFI. He worked on Anne Bancroft's AFI film through Anne. She worked with Mel. And then I think he knew David just from being like, Stuart was really somebody that I idolized a lot because he was a showbiz guy. He knew he could take meetings. He knew about, production and deals but he was cool. His wife was a performance artist, an LA kind of punk rock performance artist. Mm-hmm. And he knew all about midnight movies and like saw Eraserhead when it was just like this thing, midnight movie at the New Art, and knew to go like that guy. And yeah, he introduced, and he got David, and he told me a really good story. I could tell a story because sadly neither party is with us still. And because, I got to know him, and I'm like, tell me David Lynch stories. And he goes, well, before The Elephant Man, we would go to lunch at Bob's Big Boy, and we'd have lunch, and I would pay for the lunch because I was the production entity. So I pick up the tab. That's the rule,
right.
And he goes, and then he goes off and he makes Elephant Man, he makes Blue Velvet, and he's on fire, and he's just top of the world. And I see him, and he goes, let's have lunch again. So we go to Bob's Big Boy, and the check comes, and he picks it up, and he goes, okay, Stuart, you had the tuna melt and the shake.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then because of Stuart, I worked with Mel Brooks.
Did you write with Mel Brooks? Did I hear that correctly?
For a year.
Wow.
For a year, yeah. We Stuart so then Stuart worked for Ben Stiller for years. Ben had a production company called Red Hour, named after the Star Trek episode Red Hour, where everybody goes crazy, and I forget the name of it. So anyway, I knew Stuart from working with Ben because Stuart would always take people from the Ben Stiller show and put them to work on whatever movie Ben was working on, because we knew him and we weren't, Ben is the star. Usually Ben's the star and the director of whatever he was doing at the time, or the producer, rarely just one thing. And so you're not going to get an honest word from a lot of people because they're dependent on you for their job. And Stuart knew that if he hired the Ben Stiller show guys, we could say, that's not funny.
Yeah.
Because we knew him. And he knew that I was like, nah, I think we can beat that. He would disagree with you sometimes. And usually he was right. On Tropic Thunder, I told him, I think once Steve Coogan dies, I don't think they need to continue pretending that they're making a movie. I just think that you can have them try to get off the island. And he was like, oh, okay. And then ignored me, and it was great.
But there's something to that when you start with someone, when you're friends before the thing blows up.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell them.
That's why I love hearing the season 1 Twin Peaks stories, or, when Catherine Coulson and Jack Nance are talking to David Lynch versus these kids that are on set with the creator of the show. There's a different level of respect and criticism.
I really related to that because I've been both of those people. I've been both of those people, and the guy, and hey, what's going on? And so Mel wanted to write Spaceballs 2 because his grandson really loved Star Wars, and he had a deal with MGM. And he wanted to write with somebody, and it was very strange. He wanted to write with somebody Irish because he wrote Spaceballs 1 with an Irish guy. And he was not well. He was in New York and he was not well. So this is like 2017. So across the hall from Mel's office were Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, who wrote Ed Wood and The People versus O.J. Simpson and The People versus Larry Flint and Dolomite Is My Name and all those great movies. And they're really good friends of mine. So Mel goes into their office and says, who's funny but knows Star Wars? And they say, our friend Dana Gould. And he goes, what is he? And they were like, no, he was on The Simpsons. He's a real writer. He's real. And he goes, all right, I don't know him. So he calls up Stuart Kornfeld. Because even though they don't work together anymore, he knows that Stuart has his finger on the pulse. So he calls up Stuart and goes, who's funny and knows Star Wars? And he goes, my friend Dana Gould. So he goes, I got 2 people. I called 2 people. They both said you. So I went in, and basically I didn't get hired. I just never got fired. It was like, we'll work for a week, work for a couple of days and see how it goes. Because Mel can be, he's 92. He can be persnickety. And it was great. And we ended up writing Spaceballs 2. It's not the version that has later been made. MGM basically was ready to make the movie and then suddenly didn't have any money. we worked together, wrote a great script, and had a lot of fun. And he told me, again, I'm like, all right, tell me David Lynch stories. And he told me that, and you probably know this story, David wanted to do the makeup for the Elephant Man. And they let him try it. He was just let him try it. I'll get it out of his system. And he goes, they came with this thing. It looked like a potato. and eventually Mel had to fly to London and say, like, David, this is a studio movie. If the studio thinks you have enough time to do 4 hours of makeup every day, they're going to think you're not really doing your full job as director. If you have 4 hours every day to burn doing makeup. And that was the thing that made him realize, oh yeah, okay, I get it.
That's the way to talk to him. He's such a great Mel Brooks. Because you were in that documentary, which is a very surreal moment for me, because I got a notification from you the same day that I heard that in the documentary. I was like, "What is okay? This is all right." Yeah. I'm connected to the Gould energy. I'm going to sell a fax machine to Nadine.
I know.
But like David Cronenberg too came through, right? That was another Mel Brooks. Was that also Stewart?
Stewart, yeah. Oh, and the interesting thing is that also Mel said, I bought him it was cold. It was cold in London. I bought him a blue coat, like a pea coat. It was blue wool coat. And he wore it every day. And then it got to be spring and it was hot and he's still wearing the coat. I'm like, David, you don't have to wear the coat.
Yeah. But he had that's a period. He was also wearing 2 ties for a while, and he had severe he couldn't have wind on his neck. So yeah, he was going through.
Yeah, he was a unique fella.
When you're doing the script for Spaceballs too, what's the process like? Is it you're literally on a computer and you're tossing ideas around, or is it just pitching ideas until something takes form?
Yeah, you talk. It's like, we need to do this. Well, what if we did this? What if you did? And it's the same thing at The Simpsons. It's the same. It's like what if you did? What if you said this? And then we'll do dialogue, and then I'll come up with a joke, and then he'll beat it, and then I'll come up with a joke. And I would have to say sometimes, I don't think people know who that is. He wanted the name BB-8, BB Rebozo, which is a figure from Watergate, and I was like, I don't know if Watergate, and. It's so funny. But I will say this, I worked with him for a year. I loved him. He was so wonderful. He's a great guy. He's frighteningly intelligent. The Peloponnesian War. Well, the thing is with the Peloponnesian War, and he is smarter than the audience. And he won't play that. He goes to where the audience is. I am the opposite. I was like, if you don't get it, sorry. And that's why he's much wealthier than I am, because he goes to where the people are and I go up there. But I had an idea. So I'll tell you this story. I ended up doing this character called Dr. Z. And you can I have a show called Hanging with Dr. Z. And the premise of the show is, what if Dr. Zaius from Planet of the Apes had a talk show in the 70s? I used to live in Judy Garland's old house. One night, she appears to me in an apparition, goes into the bathroom, takes all my sleeping pills, died all over again. And he is basically like Sammy Davis Jr. He's just like a ubiquitous celebrity. Yeah, he was in Planet of the Apes. He's been in 100 other movies. He's been in bad TV movies. He's been in bad sitcoms. It's like Peter Lawford and Sammy Davis Jr. in the 70s. They were on every talk show. They were on Battle of the Network Stars. They were on the Brady Bunch.
I love Hanging with Dr. Z. And you'll be making references to Fran Tarkington at the same time as Gigi Allen.
Yes.
The time, it all is happening at the same time.
Yes. Right. Everybody's alive. And it's just sort of my homage to that era of show business when it was just Alan Alda, hell of a canasta player, but never sell him a house, just that kind of stuff. And Mel will tell you why to never sell a house to Frank Sinatra. But Mel saw it, and Mel thought it was funny, and he would say, like, we're going to put Dr. Z in the movie. We'll put Dr. Z in Spaceballs. So I pitched an idea. I got to tell you, because this is when Mel doesn't like a joke. I go, well, what if there's a cantina sequence, and he's on stage with a ventriloquist dummy. And the ventriloquist dummy looks like Charlton Heston, like he's got a beard, and he's in the loincloth, and I go, how do you like school, Timmy? Timmy? And then the dummy turns his head, and there's a brain surgery scar. Right. I thought it was funny, too. This was Mel's response. No. 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 Then he goes, he just points to the empty wall behind him. And he goes, you see this? This is the library of comedy. Every joke ever written is set at this library. Go pull down the volume where it says punchline brain surgery scar. Go get that.
You did it. You cut up his brain, you bloody baboon. Stop it!
But he pitched another joke where there's an astronaut. They're playing cribbage or something, and the astronaut beats him, and I go, damn you all to hell. And the astronaut goes, that's my line. And then it's still a great joke.
Yeah, that's still great. Yeah, we didn't even talk about Stand Against Evil.
This whole town's haunted. That's because of the witch burnings?
172 falsely accused witches want us dead.
Well, don't crap an apple. Let me take care of it.
There's a lot of Twin Peaks theft in that show.
To be able to create that world
was wonderful. And I ended up casting myself in that. And that was, I've said, I did it. I made a horror movie and I put myself in it. I did it. And what I wanted to do was, I love Dwight Fry in the original Frankenstein. People think his name is Igor. It's not. It's Fritz. But he had a hunchback and a little stick, and he was very real. He gave a very modern performance. Like, there's a scene where he's walking up the steps and he stops and fixes his socks. Like, it's a very real, non-mannered, because there are other performers in that movie that are very like, oh, darling, don't you see I love you? I mean, there's a lot of that acting. And I just wanted to be that character and just be in the background of random shots. Kind of like the log lady, just like, who's that? No, just the guy with the hunchback that lives here. But our budget was so small. If we were going to pay somebody to be on camera, they needed to be able to deliver information. So I had to kind of upgrade myself.
I'm looking for a grave marked Avner.
You know about that?
About what?
Well, the town ledger has 172 people burned for witchcraft buried here and, over there. But there's 173 graves, and Avner is the one name not in the ledger. Hey.
We also, I didn't notice this. Somebody else pointed this out to me. When I was in Seinfeld, I played a guy that got upset and dug a hole.
You don't understand. This is Fragile Frankie Merman. When we were in camp, if you upset him, he'd run into the woods, dig a hole, and sit in it.
The first episode of The Simpsons I wrote starts with Bart in the backyard digging a hole.
What are you doing? Digging. Why? Make a hole. A hole for what? More digging.
And then I played a gravedigger on Standing Against Evil.
Yeah.
It's a weird thematic thing.
I know you have a Fire Walk With Me story, or your feelings on Fire Walk With Me have changed.
There are certain movies that really fascinate me in that they kind of, and I exclude Fire Walk With Me from this. Well, I not really. I'll take that back, because they kind of don't work. And for Fire Walk With Me, it was because of the time in which it was released. And then in retrospect, time catches up with them and they become much better. I saw Fire Walk with Me the weekend it opened in 1992 in a theater down in Culver City. It was not full at all.
Yeah.
And people don't realize just how dead in the water Twin Peaks was at that. Like, people were over it.
Yeah.
And when I saw Fire Walk with Me, I hated it because I wanted it to be Dale Cooper drinking coffee and eating donuts and snapping his fingers. And I was not fully on board with the untethered Lynchiana.
Just someone eating corn at an extreme close-up was not for you.
Yeah, it didn't get, that's what I said when we left. I said, did we just pay $6 to watch a monkey eat corn? Is that what just happened? Yeah, I remember walking, I went with my friends there's two stories that my friends, three of movies I made my friends go see that they regret. One was Fire Walk with Me that I've come around on now. The other one was, guys, we really have to see Monkey Bone.
Show me the monkey! Shake that monkey!
The other one was, and there's a lot of people, this is like mid-90s, and a lot of people, like, I think Janine Garofalo was there, Kathy Griffin was there, like a lot of people that are kind of famous now. And it was the night of the Bronco chase, the OJ Bronco chase.
Yeah.
And I'm like, guys, look, he's going to be dead in an hour. We don't want to miss a minute of Wolf with Jack Nicholson and James Spader.
I've got about $1,000 in my wallet. How much would you like to borrow? $5? $10?
Cut the bullshit and give me the wop.
And so when we came out and found out that he was still alive, it was like, gold!
Oh, man. Now, that's not a great... But it makes sense why you would want to see Wolf. Monkey Bone, I have no memory of Monkey Bone. I saw all three of the movies that you mentioned. Monkey Bone, I don't remember.
But it is one of those movies like, wow, this is just doesn't work. And there are certain movies that just like, this does not work. And but Fire Walk with Me is not one of those things. What I find fascinating about Fire Walk with Me is he created this show and he created it with Mark Frost. And then it really had a life of its own. And he took his hands off the steering wheel in the second season. And then he realized too late to reclaim it. And it's a miracle that he got to make that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
And what he did was, this is the story that I want to tell. And people are like, no, that's not the story you want to tell. You want to tell this story. And he's like, no, I know what I want to do. And people hated it because it wasn't the show. It wasn't the show. It's not what they asked for. But time was kind to it. And over time you realized what it was. It actually, in a lot of ways, supersedes the show because it goes to places the show couldn't. And what it does works. And I love the idea of using this world that has been created for a much heavier story, but using the same world. And now I love it. And now I love it.
Yeah, all of Twin Peaks is a miracle.
This cherry pie is a miracle.
I mean, when you think about the fact that they own it,
Yeah, no, you're right.
Frost and Lynch outright own this wonderful thing. And to your point that Lynch makes a movie at a time when no one wants to show, and then tells a story that no one wants to hear. But does it anyway. He's so committed to the dream that he has for this, and they put it out, and it takes years and years later, but it eventually finds second life. And even the return is a miracle. But you would never have the return in a normal situation. They would have signed a contract that said ABC owned some, and we would have had horrible. Twin Peaks would have been rebooted 1,000 times before 2017 in terrible ways. It would have been exploited. Like, just the fact that it's like a miracle any of this thing came together. I had the same experience with you. I loved the movie from the beginning, but I had the same experience as far as like going to the theater and how sad it was. There wasn't a lot of people there. I saw it twice. The second time was even worse. I think I was the only one in the theater.
But you had to be like, what, 16, 17?
I was 16 when the show came out. So 92, I would have been 17 or 18.
Oh, you were 18, 17 or 18. Yeah, I was 27, 28.
Yeah, I'm 74, so I'm about 10 years from you.
When is your birthday?
November 26th.
Oh, Scorpio, hanging up.
Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. So
right.
It's cool.
My wife would know.
That we're allowed. I don't know.
My wife would know. I'd have to ask her.
I've heard that you are a fan though of the Chet Desmond storyline, which I love the whole Deer Meadow section of that film.
I could spend 5 hours in Deer Meadow.
That's also I'm going to talk to Bob Engels hopefully next week. I'm fascinated by the script. Obviously, they got to keep the movie down to 2 hours. They cut so much of the Twin Peaks stuff out that ends up in missing pieces. Stuff that also is connected to Laura, but they keep that first part in.
Mm-hmm.
You could have probably had a movie that started with Laura on that first day and did the last 7 days of Laura Palmer and put all of that stuff in that may have made some people happy, but it was committed to David Bowie and the FBI scenes and all the stuff I would never cut. I think it's a perfect cut.
Well, I love, and I'm in the minority, I love the Q2 fan edit more than the theatrical. And I think the reason the Q2 works is because it does leaven some of the unrelenting, punishing elements of the last hour of that movie. It kind of lightens the load a little bit. And you definitely benefit from knowing Philip Jeffries' backstory and seeing him in the hotel. Like all of that, I think you benefit from that. And it's just a private, personal. I like the Q2 better, but it is unrelenting. It's very unique for Lynch too. It's very. I love that he just didn't want to leave that world and wanted to use that world to tell whatever story he wanted to. Kind of does the same thing with The Return. Like he uses The Return to tell a lot of stories.
That's spectacular. I mean, we're going through that now, as listeners know.
Yeah.
We're almost at the end, which is kind of depressing.
Yeah, what are you going to do when you're done?
I don't know. I either quit
on the air,
and then go back to writing and get some stuff, or just end it all on the air. Is that what you're going to say? Just have one final episode where
no, just do one episode. Just do the whole on the air. 2 episodes.
Yes. That's funny you said that, because yes, that I have talked to Dan about doing on the air, because you can find them on archive.org. For whatever reason, my broken brain, you said on the air. I immediately said, oh, he means off myself on the air. And I was like, yes, of course, we're going to have a suicide ending. That's the perfect ending for the podcast. Thank you, Mr. Dana Gould.
No, Eric, no.
So when you said on the air, literally, I'm thinking of the most darkest thing. But yes, on the air would be great.
I said on the air and you threw in suicide. All my hipster friends watched, we all watched Twin Peaks. We all watched on the air. I didn't take to it.
Either did I. And that's the one thing that and I was real dialed in to all of it. I loved Fire Walk With Me. I loved all of his films. I didn't understand it. It felt, it was a different kind of comedy, I think, than I was ready for. And I watched all of them. I think they only aired 2 or 3 of them, right? And they made, I think, 6 or 7. But I did rewatch it, and it's funnier than I remember. And it feels more like that show, I Think You Should Leave, Like some of the humor that is in it.
All right. Well, that's one of my favorite shows, so I'm going to have to watch it now.
Yeah, me too. There's a scene in the pilot of On the Air where they see inside a character's head.
Blinky Watts is not blind. He suffers from Bozeman simplex. He actually sees 25.62 times as much as we do. If we were to see what Blinky is seeing right now, it would look something like this.
And it's this crazy world.
That's what I remember. The animation, there's animation.
That reminds me of that sketch. I think you should leave when you see all the crazy things in this episode.
You don't know what I'm seeing. I see the world wildly and in wild ways. Like I look at this and it's not this, it's like a fucking, like.
He can't even think of anything.
Yes, I can. I just can't say it because it's offensive.
You can say it.
Like, to me, Lynch is the funniest stuff that he does is because it's not in a comedy. That people that things are, that it's funnier. Like in Blue Velvet, when she comes out and the guy goes, "Who's that? Your mom?" Like that is so funny. It's so funny. Or 8 trillion things in Twin Peaks, because it's not in a comedy. It's it's like the laughs are sneaking in, and he knows the difference between like something really dark and then something really funny. And because I had to do this when I pitched Stand Against Evil, I had to go into the whole thing about, this is a horror show where the people in the show don't know that they're in a horror show and they're behaving basically normally. And that's why it's funny, because they don't have stylized horror movie cool. And then we got a little silly with it, but it was it's because the comedy doesn't know it's in a comedy, and On the Air it's trying to be funny.
Yes, and he has a very like kind of a broad sense of humor that you do see creep out in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Andy hitting his face on the board and then going back and forth for a very long time, or the Fusco brothers and The Return.
Yeah, like the thing with Andy is that took a lot of guts, because it's one of those, it's a Goon Show bit where it's funny, then it's not funny, and then you commit to the bit to the point that it's funny again. And networks don't like that. We would do that in The Simpsons, and fortunately we had Jim Brooks backing us up. But it would be like, don't why is this still going on? Well, wait, it'll be funny again in a minute. Yeah. Do you follow like Lynch World on the internet and so on Instagram and stuff?
Yeah.
There's a bit. It's funny. There's a bit of him shooting the murder of Maddie Zima and the other guy at the beginning, and he has these 2 blue balls on sticks.
Yeah, it's not pleasant, but I've got blue balls.
and there's so many blue ball jokes that I actually texted Maddie Zima, and I was like, I love this man so much. I would have given a kidney to work with him, but at a certain point, it's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I know. No, I know the joke. Blue balls. I get it. Yeah.
Speaking of working with him, you must have went out of your mind when The Return was blowing up, because everybody seemed like they were trying to get a role on that show.
Yeah, I was doing Stand Against Evil and couldn't, even if, and I don't think I would have. I was nobody, but I would have loved to have had a line, like, paging Mr. Herman.
Yeah, you absolutely should have been in that. I mean, there's so many cameos and stuff in that film. Well, show, whatever.
Yeah, well, my friend John, I have friends. Yeah, John Ennis is in it.
Yes, he's the original Hello.
Yep, and right? David Koechner, old buddy of mine, and Maddie Zima, a bunch of people. David Dastmalchian, who's a really good friend of mine.
Be mad at them forever. I would be jealous forever. Not mad at them, but
I'm very envious. David Dastmalchian has really good stories about it.
Yeah, he's great in it.
Yeah, he's very good in it.
Pit boss.
Yeah.
What's your overall take on The Return?
Love it. And for the same reason, and like Fire Walk With Me, when I first saw it, I was like, I was a lot more mature. And so I was a lot more into Lynch, so I knew what he was going for. I enjoy it. I think Dan might have said this, or you said this. I enjoy it more now that I know how it ends because I'm no longer waiting for Coop to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. Like all that anticipation is gone.
Yeah.
And once it completes its loop and you're like, I can revisit this. Like I can enjoy these moments.
Yeah. But like the whole idea of Mark Frost had an idea about the housing crisis in Vegas, and David wanted to do something involving the nuclear test, and like I'm sure that it was like a place where you took like the green glove, like ideas that I've had. We'll just put them. We'll make them work in here, and I think that's really it's kind of great in the sense that like here's like take the White Album. You know, the White Album, they all had ideas and they were just like, this is a John song, this is a George song, this is a Paul song. But then they put it, and they sell it as the Beatles because it all comes under the Beatles rubric.
Right.
But it's just ideas that these individual guys had that they wanted to, it was a Beatles album because they called it a Beatles album. And a lot of times it's Twin Peaks because they call it Twin Peaks. But I like that. I like that.
Specifically, like in that second season as well. You can definitely see when Harley Payton is mostly running the show, or then when Lynch comes back, you can see the tonal shifts that go on. And even season 1, you can tell is like, feels like Mark Frost is driving the whole thing from start to finish.
And it was written ahead of time. The jump from 6 episodes to 22 is
brutal.
A huge jump.
Brutal. All the pressure, 2 young guys, you know, with Bob and Harley, and then the 2 creators are sort of off. Like I can't imagine what would go through your head, how anyone could come out the other side.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that's really true. This is something that I wish was true, but isn't. In El Silencio, there is, in the back of the theater, a brunette sitting next to a blonde woman. And someone said it was supposed to be Laura and Teresa Banks.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah. I've later heard that said that that's not true, but I like to think it is. I prefer to think that it is.
The world, I think, is big enough to make that show. If it's that way in your head, why can't it be true?
Yeah. I prefer to think it is.
Well, I think should we end it there? I was going to ask you if you wanted to defend one of these beloved season 2 storylines. Which is your favorite? Little Nicky, James fixes your car, Lana makes men fall in love with her, or Civil War Ben. But I will spare you, Mr. Gould. I've taken a lot of your time up.
It would be hard. It would be hard for me to gin up the energy.
It's hard to pick a favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say the James Hurley. I think, did you send me this?
Oh no, you told me about that. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
Yeah. I'm a writer on the show Ted, and I wrote an episode this season where Ted has an affair with a wealthy older woman. And the house they used was the house where James had the affair with the wealthy older woman in season 2.
There's constantly doing tours outside that. This is the house where James and brother Malcolm. But Dana, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, for talking to me. I swear I had so many more questions that were going to be involving Twin Peaks and David Lynch, all this stuff. But you have a very interesting life.
Hit me up. Text me on the thing.
Sure.
Email me. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah. We'll do it for your on the air episodes.
What I do want to know is is there anything you're promoting?
I'll be at the Everett Theater in Everett, Washington on May 16th. And I'm going to go see Laura Palmer's house, which is in Everett, Washington. And then if you're in LA on May 5th, I will be doing Hanging with Dr. Z live at the Pacific Electric Theater.
You got to get over it. You got to go see Mr. Dana Gould. And also, if you have a Roku, you can watch Stand Against Evil. It's on something else. I know it's on that because that's how I watched it. But I'm sure it's on other platforms as well.
Yeah. It's on something by gum.
It's on something. We don't know. This whole place is falling apart, people. You got only so much time. Spend it with Mr. Gould. There's plenty of his material to watch. We should watch Perfectly Normal, your special from 2025.
Yes.
I gotta ask, the fearlessness of you going after your father-in-law.
My father-in-law is an airline pilot. Do you know the difference between an airline pilot and God? God doesn't walk around like a fucking airline pilot.
Was the best thing, but also I could not believe the stuff that you were saying. Maybe you have a great relationship with them, and it's fantastic.
No, my wife wanted me to do that bit, and then we went, and then when we went to their house, I was like really nervous, and my wife was like, "He's not going to watch your bit. He's not going to watch your show."
It's great. It's great. I would recommend that. You are fearless, my friend.
Great to talk to you, man. I love your show. I'm really grateful for your show.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a supporter of the show. It means, it means a lot to me. It's very exciting. Thank you for listening to the Meanwhile podcast with Dan Johnson and Eric Grissom. If you would like to support the Meanwhile podcast, join our Patreon. It's available right now. You can sign up, and for just a few dollars a month, you can keep this show going, and you can get access to some exclusive podcasts and some secret stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you'd like to join, go to ericgrissom.com/meanwhile and look for the Patreon link. If you like our show, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're hearing this now. Meanwhile is produced by Eric Grissom and Where's My Robots? The Meanwhile theme song is written and performed by Paul Finn and Evening Pines. If you want to let us know what you thought of the show, you can reach Dan at danjnj.com, both on the web and on Blue Sky. Eric can be found on Blue Sky at ericgrissom.com, which is also his website. It's also me, right? That's weird. We'll see you again, and in the meantime, be good.
Listen to the sounds.
Meanwhile.
Where's my robots, you know?